All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our April Pennsylvania Student-Centered Learning Network meeting. We're so excited to have you here today. So excited to see so many of you with us. We're really excited about the meeting we have today. Always excited to get us together. It's an exciting time of the year as spring is blooming around the state of Pennsylvania. The weather is getting warmer. And probably some of you might even be thinking ahead towards maybe some summer plans that you might have. But for today, it's great to be with you. And again, my name is Tim Leister. I am the facilitator of our Pennsylvania Student-Centered Learning Network. And as we get started today, again, you can see the chat on the screen, the link to it, as well as in the meeting chat today. We would love to see who you are and where you're coming in from today. So if you wouldn't mind putting your name and your school district or your organization in the chat along with your title, it's always great to see kind of who's joining us today. So please feel free to go ahead and do that. All right. It's great to see so many different people coming in from all across the state. All right. So again, as you're continuing to do that, one of the things we want to do today is make this interactive. Please continue to use the React buttons. One of the fun parts that Zoom has added is the ability to do that. So if you hear something you like today or something that really resonates with you, please, this is your permission to use those React buttons. Give a hand to somebody or give them a thumbs up. So I'll ask my team to kind of demonstrate that for you today so you can see them coming across the screen. Always a way to kind of give your voice to something without necessarily having to raise your hand or come off mute or something like that. So this is your permission to go ahead and make sure you do that. So one of the other things we want to do today is get a feel for if you're joining us for the first time, or if you are coming for several different meetings that we have today. So I want to try to put up a poll here for you too, very quickly. I'm going to launch this one. Let's see if I can get it to launch. Just very quickly, a poll coming up here to ask, is this the first time you're joining us today? Or perhaps this is more than the first time you've been with us and you've been here more than once. So this is always just good information for us to get a feel for who's coming in for the first time and who's been with us before. So a welcome if this is your first meeting with us. We appreciate you having us here for the first time. And again, if you're coming back, we appreciate you're always coming back to see us. Okay, and again, my name's Tim Leister here at IU13, but this is our fantastic team that's part of the network leadership team. Many of them are also your point of contacts for your IU and your region. They can be folks that you can reach out to if you have any questions following today's meeting or something that comes up throughout the school year that you have an interest in. But we also want to point out to you and we'll remind you there are points of contacts in all of the different IUs across the state where you can reach out and find out what's going on around student-centered learning and get more information about how you can move forward in your area. So here's today's agenda. Again, we're going to get a little bit of an overview of our community of practice. We've been focusing on different components of the Pennsylvania Student-Centered Learning Blueprint. So today is going to be the learning model component, where it's going to be our focus. And we're so happy to have Dr. Lord Jacob with us and a team from ELANCO School District, which are going to highlight some areas around that learning model flexibility and some different things that maybe you can think about implementing in your school district. If we have some time today later, we're going to go into some breakout rooms where we can have some focused discussions around the different components. So we've done that in the past. You're welcome to join the same breakout room you've joined in the past that focuses on a specific component. But if you're looking for more information on something else, you're welcome to join any of those. So as we're going through the meeting today, maybe have in mind which of the breakout rooms for those components where you might have an interest in learning more about. Okay, and from there, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Ken Zimmerman, who is going to share a little bit more about our community of practice and how we've come to the point where we're at right now. So, Ken?
All right. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be able to be with you this morning. My name is Ken Zimmerman, and I serve on the leadership team of PASCL. And I think it's always important for us to just level set to be able to remember why we're here today and why PASCL exists and that we're here to be able to serve your needs moving forward. So, just some background on us for those of you that are new to the group, particularly. Tim, if you want to just go ahead and advance onto the next slide. I think that it's important to understand that PASCL exists, the Pennsylvania Student-Centered Learning Community of Practice, because it's a way to be able to pull us together, to be able to network together and collaborate together. Ultimately, we envision a future where every PA learning experience ignites curiosity, fosters creativity, and cultivates lifelong learners. And so our goal is to be able to provide PASCL as a network for you to be able to collaborate and learn from each other across the state. And so we've been having the great pleasure of doing site visits all over for the past couple of years and visiting districts and seeing the different pockets of innovation that are occurring under the student-centered learning umbrella. And it's been exciting to be able to get each of us to be able to see what's going on in districts and getting districts to share their stories so that we can all truly come together to be able to help one another in this venture of student-centered learning, trying to really focus on what really engages students in today's arena, and how do we really engage them in that learning experience, and what are the learning experiences that we're providing to be able to keep them engaged and keep them motivated for learning moving forward. Go ahead to the next one, Tim. I think that what's important is understanding the different components of student-centered learning. And we were able to create the student-centered learning blueprint for you as a way to map out what are the 5 specific components that we're focusing in on when we're talking about student-centered learning. So this year, if you've been part of our other meetings throughout our network meetings, you've noticed that we've had a theme each time aligned with one of those components. So from administration and leadership to learning models to curriculum design and development to teaching and learning and community outreach, all these are fully defined in our blueprint for you to be able to access and understanding what is the difference between each one of these. So our meetings this year have focused on each one. We've had some districts share their stories of the work that they're doing in each one of these components. And we've had some speakers share their journeys along with this as well, because let's face it, we're all at different steps of that journey and different points in the journey. And we're all really focusing on how can we continually grow and become better. And that's why we're here to be able to help each other grow and become better. So with that, today's focus is learning models. And so if we talk about learning models, we really want to dig into what does that mean? Understanding that the learning models serve as the instructional framework and delivery system for implementing student-centered practices. So these learning models that we're focusing on really prioritize the learner's needs and translate the instructional strategies to flexible delivery models, included blended and online. So when we talk about the student-centered learning umbrella, and under that student-centered learning umbrella, we have blended learning as options, where that's where we might have the mixture of online or full online learning, and we have personalized learning as well as one of those options. So when we're looking at learning models, we may be really digging into what are the learning models that we're providing, particularly for blended and online practices, as well as for students to be able to engage in internships or externships inside and outside of the school district. The choice of the learning model we know influences curriculum design, teaching methods, and student experiences. And so as we focus on learning models today, we want you to be able to wrap your head around what are you doing in your district and in your schools? What's the learning models that you're using, and what are the variety of models that you're able to employ to be able to reach more students moving forward? So go ahead and advance to the next slide there, Tim. In order to dig into these learning models, we're going to bring Erin Cummings to the stage, and she's going to walk us through the next activity.
Thank
So,
you,
Erin,
Ken.
welcome.
Thank you. So I'd love to have some perspective from all of you and to really start to think about learning models. If you walked into a classroom where strong learning models were in place, what would you see your students doing? So I want you just to think about that for 30 seconds I am putting the question in the chat too, so you have it in words. If you walked into a classroom where strong learning models were in place, what would you see students doing? And I'm going to ask you to put your response in the chat. Whenever you're ready, we'll put our responses in the chat and see what we have. Okay. I see a lot of collaboration, engaged students. They're working collaboratively, thinking deeply, asking those questions, um, setting goals and tracking their learning, being curious. And as we said before with the reactions, please feel free to react in the chat to any that really come just uh, speak to you or you really agree with. Generating those next steps for their learning. Cami, I really like that answer. So we see a lot of our active students. It's flexible, they're collaborative. Excellent. So now I want you to think, I don't need an answer or response to this, but I want you to consider which of these in our chat are most present in your setting and which of these are possibly missing. Okay. So I am going to pass it back over to Ken.
Thank you, Erin.
Thanks.
So we wanted to give you a little bit of time to be able to think through learning models in your school and your district. And now we're going to give you an opportunity to listen about other learning models that are taking place across the Commonwealth. So to kick us off today, we have Dr. Laura Jacob with us, who's currently the superintendent of California Area School District. And I just have to say before Laura begins and shares, we had the great opportunity here at Lancaster-Lebanon IU13 to take a group of our assistant superintendents and directors of curriculum instruction in October to visit Laura and her school district. And it was one of the most inspiring visits that we have yet had in our curriculum coordinators meetings that we've been able to explore across the state. Laura was an incredible host, and she had students taking us all over the district to be able to show us the different innovative practices that they're using at California Area, and it was just so inspiring. So we're excited that Laura is able to join us today and to be able to share with you some of the incredible things that they've been doing and working on as they've been continuing on their journey. So, Laura, thank you so much. Welcome.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Ken. I really appreciate Ken's leadership in bringing us all together because this is how we learn and this is how we develop these ideas as a team and as a state is by learning off of one another and showcasing to one another, here's what we're doing, but then making your adaptations. So Ken, thanks for being such a leader across the state and bringing people together. All right, I got 15 minutes and it's funny that we're kicking off and focusing on learning models in a season that's probably the least student-centered learning season of the world, which is PSSA season. So I do want to start by thanking each and every one of you for your work, your dedication, and your focus on education, because we know next week is not student-centered at all whatsoever. And then juxtaposition that, I encourage all of you to teach cursive writing in the afternoon. Make the kids do the PSSAs entirely online in the morning, and then let's do cursive writing just to really, stick it to them. So, no, it's what we do, right? We make it work. We know what's right for kids, and that's what I encourage all of you to do is take that passion and run with it and focus on what's most important, which is what the kids need. I don't even let my educators see what their PSSA results are. So but okay, so let's talk about learning models, and I want to give you some examples. I'm not going to tell you my demographics of my school district because I think sometimes that's used as an excuse, like, oh, they're much bigger than us, then they can do this, or they're much smaller than us, or they're more poor or less poor than us, and I think sometimes that is used as an excuse as though you can't do certain things. And I want you to think about what you could possibly do within your sphere of influence. I know that each and every one of you have a different role. And I firmly believe that the progress towards student centered learning can happen with every single one of you, whether you're a teacher, a school counselor, I saw a librarian, a CEO, a superintendent, an IU employee. So there are definitely roles that all of you can make in that progress towards student-centered learning. And so, Tim, if you wouldn't mind switching over, I'll give you some examples of what we're doing. And I want you to be mindful that none of this happens overnight and none of this is clean, perfect, finished. None of that happens. I'm all about building the plane and flying it at the same time. I'm much to some of my educators' chagrin. And I'm all about the fact that, we're just making steps towards that progress. And so embrace that messiness, embrace the progress. And I truly feel that as long as we make that step forward, then guess what? It's going to be able to happen. And so one of the things that we use to kick off, and I started at California area July 1 of 2020. So guess what? Like my life has only gotten better since July 1 of 2020 as a school superintendent. So one of the things that we kicked off was the Moonshot Personalized Learning coach. And this was a teacher. And believe it or not, she's actually on this presentation, which is great. She's now turned CEO of a charter school, and Heather Nicholson. And what we did is we took one teacher and we said, okay, let's create a classroom where we take individual students' interests and we bend the state standards around those individual student interests instead of saying, hey, you're in fourth grade, you will learn this set of standards. And so what we did is we took, Heather took every single student's interest. Maybe it's dinosaurs, maybe it's ballet, maybe it's football. And she designed the math, the science, social studies, the entire curriculum that that student needed at the level that they needed it. So we accepted the fact that they might be at a third grade level when it comes to ELA, but they might be at, say, a second grade level when it comes to mathematics. We totally accepted that and embraced them where they were. And she designed those standards around that each individual student. And so it was essentially taking the very best of an individualized educational plan. So take an IEP, take the best of it, remove all the ridiculous compliance crap, and deliver that to the students day in and day out. And that is something that we still have happening today. It started off a very small group of kids. We had, say, 15 sign up. And then every single year it has increased to, we're almost at 100 students here in the district that now choose Moonshot as one of their approaches. They receive no grades. There are no grade levels. So I have students that might go up to the middle school for certain classes, but technically are, say, sixth graders and would be at our elementary building. So we remove the grades, remove the grade levels, and just focus on the learning with Moonshot. And for all those that say, like, oh, well, they'll never be able to graduate without a transcript, that is false. I had students graduate, go to the college of their choice without grades on their transcript. Guys, it happens day in and day out in Ivy League schools with students that are homeschooled. So it can happen. We don't have to have grades. And grades, to us, we feel, are the end of learning. Once a kid gets the grade, guess what? The learning stops. So we remove that barrier and just focus on that constant improvement and constant learning. So that's the Moonshot class. And that's really where we started it all. And then one of the things I thought about is like, okay, so I really want to focus on personalized learning. I want every single student to be addressed, but I have to also ensure that I'm doing that with my staff. And so I developed what was called the Professional Learning Catalog. Started off as just a simple Google sheet of listing. Here's all the possible courses that you can take throughout the school year and into the summer that I will give you credit for or as your professional development days. You do not need to show up on the traditional professional development days. If, for example, you came to, the Personalized Learning Summit at IU1 on June, I think it's June 7th. So I give credit to my educators for their diversity of professional learning experiences. And instead of, turning them into days, we just turned them into hours. And I said, okay, you have to get, say, 40 hours in the school year. I need you to come in the first day. That's a non-negotiable. And if there's other things that we have to have them in there for, we do. But then the rest of the school year, our teachers get to pick and choose from a catalog of over 60 options that they can choose for their professional learning. That has been a tremendous thing. Guess what, guys? This costs nothing. That cost me nothing to establish because I literally just did it on a Google sheet and shared it out with everybody, and then they marked their options. And I'll be happy to share any of these resources with any of you. That is a means of you showcasing as a leader. I believe in personalized learning. I want to do it with you, and this is how we're going to do it. So I highly encourage. That's an easy one, no cost initiative that you can have happen. The next step, last year, we started working on what we're calling the Village Transcript, and we have it in place with the students right now. So we're taking the concept of it takes a village to raise a child, right? We all know that. It takes multiple stakeholders. But yet, why does our transcript just show, say, grades, attendance, and state test scores? What we wanted to do is we wanted to revolutionize the transcript and really enable multiple individuals to contribute on the knowledge, skills, and dispositions of a child when it comes to their final transcript. Because I truly feel that if we're going to change education, we have to change the systems, the legacy systems that are in place in order for us to make that change. It's not the teacher's fault. It's not the board's fault. It's not the school leader's fault that they're following these systems. We literally have to change that system. And to me, changing the transcript was one means of changing the system, the legacy system that's in place to revolutionize education. And so now the kids have essentially a resume, a transcript, and a portfolio all blocked into one. If they have a job, if they volunteer, or say they volunteer at a dance studio, their dance teacher can contribute to their transcript and say, hey, I see these skills in this child when they work at that dance studio. If their employer has certain skills that they see out of them, they can now have that employer contribute to their transcript and really showcase at an individual level every single child and where they are. And this was inspired by a young man named Scott. Scott hasn't graduated yet, but he is my reason behind developing the Village Transcript. Scott has average grades. Like, you would look at his grades, you're like, okay, no, nothing spectacular. But you know what? Scott, each and every night, volunteers at the fire hall. He has multiple certifications. He is there late into the night, ensuring work at the fire hall, doing whatever he can. And guess what? Scott is the one that you want to have save your life whenever you're on the side of the road in a car accident. But yet our transcript didn't show all of those skills that Scott had and all that volunteer time. And so that's why we developed the Village Transcript, was to create that. So now we can highlight all those aspects of Scott and all the certification that he has, but the grades are not the forefront on the transcript. So then that led us to, and I know I got like 5 minutes, and I got this, Ken. I'm on track, buddy. That led us to the last two that we are working on right now and developing, and we've rolled out to kids, and that's our learning menu and our field lab courses. So the first one with field lab courses, this was inspired because I truly feel as though we've kind of sanitized like the science experience by having kids just read elements out of a book or say a experiment, as opposed to giving them the smells, the feels, the smell of formaldehyde while you are dissecting, say, a worm, is so powerful towards your senses of, say, experimentation and science knowledge. And I think sometimes with the textbooks, or even with say AI or focusing on online learning, we've taken away those sights, smells, feels of learning that I think are so very powerful. And so what we decided to do is we developed what are called field lab courses. And what that means is the entire course is out in the field. So you're doing biology out in the field. You are we are literally, and I don't know how we're going to be able to afford it, but it's our plan. We are literally doing AP European history while backpacking through Europe. Because guess what? That is going to be so much more powerful than just reading a textbook that's 500 pages long about AP European history. We're doing scuba, for example, over the summer, and that serves scuba certification serves as their PE credit. So what we're trying to do, and it kind of started off and kicked off with those of you that have that maybe if you're at Hershey Park, we have Kennywood Park. They have like a physics day at the park, right? They really talk about the physics behind roller coasters and things, and that's really where it got my mind going. I'm like, why not apply all of the things out in the field and have those classes where we're not in the classroom but actually experiencing those out in the field. And so how we kicked it off is over the summer, it serves as an equivalent credit. So say they're doing an English language arts field lab course. We're doing it over the summer, and then they don't have to do their English, their traditional English credit during the traditional school year. And I'll be happy to share with you all the field lab course ideas that we have up to this point. We have even tattoo art. Believe it or not, a little controversial. We're not having the kids tattoo one another, but it's again applying that art and those student interests to the content that we want to teach. And then lastly, what we're trying to do, as I said, with changing the systems that we have in place is we're now creating a learning menu as opposed to a course catalog. And really embracing the aspect that we want each and every student to have an individualized learning pathway. So we're creating, instead of saying, what courses do you want to take, we're now flipping the script, and I'm using Base 44. If any of you love Base 44, I absolutely love Base 44. I have very little money in my school district budget, so this allows me to create my own apps and my own programs utilizing AI, and it's very, very cheap. So if you're wondering how some of these are created, I'm just literally doing that on the weekends when the snow is falling outside. But the learning menu flips the script and says, what ways do you want to learn? And then here's the types of courses that we can design and provide to you. So instead of saying, what's your name and what classes do you want to take, we start off with the questions of how do you like to learn? Which ways do you prefer to learn? So if you're hands-on, or if you want your English to be online, or if you want your health and PE to be online, okay, we'll make that happen. And it allows every single student to truly be personalized. And so my goal is to create, instead of a school year master schedule, my goal is that we're now creating a 365-day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day course catalog for students to take. So that's what we're working on right now in the development. And because of its scale, it's a little bit challenging, but we've at least gotten started with it. So I'm really excited about where that's going to take hold, and how we can really flip the script on, say, the master schedule and change it out. And Ken, I made it, buddy. I made it in 15 minutes.
Great job. That was incredible. As you were sharing each one of those things, it made me think of, oh my gosh, we're talking about redesigning particularly the secondary experience and what learning would look like in the secondary realm. And each thing that you mentioned was inspiring, as well as, oh, I have questions. What about this? What about that? So you might be the same way. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions here, in a moment. But Laura, we appreciate you taking some time to be able to share with that. For you to be able to take some time to now think and reflect on what Laura just shared with us, we're going to pass the baton over to Megan, and then we will come back together to do a little Q&A time with Laura. So Megan.
Thanks, Ken. Okay, so I am exactly the same way. Laura, I have so many inspirations and so many questions. I'm like furiously writing notes. So if you are anything like me, we want to give you time to really dig into what this could look like. So I want you to think about what is one place to start, one community partner, local business, real problem in your area that could get you started, that could anchor hands-on experience for students. What would a pilot version of this look like? So we want you to take all of those constraints out. You're living in like make-believe world right now. We're just throwing ideas at the wall of like, what could this look like? And then the goal is to try to figure out, okay, how do we get kind of close to that? But for right now, we're going to send you into individual breakout rooms, and you're just going to have a little bit to chat with other people about that one thing. What's one thing that you can get started with? So we're going to open up the breakout rooms. Oh, they're already starting to open. Awesome. So in just a minute, you're going to be assigned to a breakout room. We're going to send you out to start having that conversation. So as you are starting to come back into the room, I'm sure you have just as many questions, if not more questions than answers. That's what a great brainstorming session is all about. So we'd love to hear some of those questions. I know that we have so many great ideas and great people in the room to help support each other. So if you have ideas that came up in that conversation, ideas for Laura, then put that into the chat and then we'll have time to do like a mini little Q&A. So we already have some questions in the chat that I'm going to throw over to Ken, and he's going to host that conversation.
All right, Megan, thank you so much. So Lexi had posted a couple questions in the chat earlier, and Laura has already been gracious to be able to give a reply to that. So she was multitasking at the same time, which is awesome. So we'll give you a couple moments if there's any pressing item that you wanted to be able to ask Laura while she's with us. Laura is going to join the learning models breakout a little bit later this morning, so you can join her in that breakout particularly, but if there's anything that you wanted to be able to ask, feel free to add into the chat and we'll talk about that. So while they're doing that, Laura, one of the things that made me think about is your story about Scott, right? The student that you
Yeah.
were referring to with the village transcript. And I just think about the amazing experiences that he's having outside of the school building, right? But that's continuing his learning, continuing his passion and interest. And one thing that stood out to me is you said, he's the one that you want to be able to save you if you're in the car accident or whatever else because of the experiences, that he's had. And traditionally, we don't have an opportunity to capture that in our normal
Yep.
transcript system. And I think
Yep.
about all the students that we have out there that are like that, and they're applying to colleges, trade schools, or other post high school employment, and they have to capture that for themselves because it's not capturing in the transcript. So, what's it going to
Yeah.
be like to be able to give that transcript to the next stage of life that that person needs to go to?
Yeah, no, you nailed it, Ken. Because one of the things we realized when we built the system, and again, I'll share all of this stuff with you, and it's totally low budget, everything that we've created. So it's not pretty, but it's functional. But what you nailed is I realized I said, okay, so we've created the village transcript, but I need to explain to the village, out there in the community, what we've created and why they're going to get emails from kids asking to contribute. And that's when I came up with a realization. I have a list of like our local companies and communities, but I don't have a list of who employs our kids. And I was like, that's sad
Mm.
on my part. And maybe you guys are different, but I was like, shoot, I don't have, where our kids are working either part-time or volunteering or anything like that. So we had to create a list from the kids. Like I went to every English classroom. I'm like, listen, I need your help in creating this list. And so that's what really made me realize like I'm missing a lot of the mark of the whole picture of every single one of
Mm.
our kids. And
Sure.
that's also helped in working towards this. And it's still not perfect, but it's at least a step in the
Right.
right direction.
Well, what a novel idea, right? Because in our last meeting, we were focusing on community and talking about forging those business partnerships. And a lot of people said, how? How do you get started? because it's overwhelming going into the business community in our districts and being who was all out there able to do. Your novel idea is just go to your kids and ask, where are
Yeah.
you working? What are you
Yep. Yep.
doing? That's a great
Yeah.
way to be able to get that list started.
Yeah.
All right, so Danny asked, your district is a bold demonstration of what's possible and beautiful. What is the stickiest message for stakeholders who are protective of the status quo?
Okay. So I like this one. I heard in the breakout, like I have to get everybody quote unquote on board. Screw that. Nobody's ever going to be 100% on board. Listen, I have a 4-day work week for my teachers, and I don't have 100% on board with that. So, like, just get that out of your mind and quit using that as an excuse, and just move forward. So, what I do is with every single thing that I'm designing, and I learned this from the pandemic because I started, as I said, in the pandemic as a superintendent. And you have to make these decisions at the pandemic era that, like, really, you're 100% is not going to be on board. And so I have still the traditional system is still embedded in all of these bold ideas. Like the village
Mhm.
transcript still has a box that looks just like the classic transcript. Moonshot is an option. The kids don't have to take a moonshot class, but they can take a moonshot class. The PD catalog, you have the option of just coming in on the traditional PD days. But like I told my breakout room, guess what? I'm very manipulative. I wrap all the traditional PD days are around a holiday. So if you want to have an extra day off, guess what? You just have to be creative and develop your own schedule. So
Mhm.
I'm a very manipulative superintendent, but by doing that, you're doing that nudging. I think the book is Nudge, but you're nudging towards where you want it to be. So like the traditional is still there, guys. And I think as a superintendent, I'm never going to be able to fight that and say, like, all of us will do, moonshot, for example. But I can really make it glamorous and exciting and something that people want to do. And if people continue to choose it, then the other parts or the old system goes away. And so that's my approach to leadership. I don't know if it's right, but so far it's working okay for me.
Yeah, it's an inspiring thought too, that people have a hesitancy of like, oh my gosh, I got to involve all my stakeholders and I got to get them all on board and we all need to go the same direction. And that's just not realistic with
Yeah.
everybody that's involved, right, in that process.
And you'll never be able to make steps forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to
Yep.
be able to start.
Sure. Sure. Pam had her hand up. Pam, do you want to unmic and ask a question? Feel free to do so.
Actually, I think that was one of those things where I hit raise hand by accident, Ken, but I did put a
Okay.
question into the chat. And Laura, my question was, at what point did your intuition or evidence inside the system start to tell you that you were hitting a critical mass of the village really embracing the work, whether it was employers or parents or teachers or kids? Because there, in our breakout group, that came up of, you know, there's so much on people's plate, it's hard to get started. How do you
Yeah.
know when you're starting to really get there?
Yeah. No, that's a good question, Pam. I don't know. Um, I don't know if I'm there either. Like, I think, especially the village transcript, that's going to be a constant, like education piece uh, with our community stakeholders. I think when it starts to become part of the culture where you hear like that's just what we do here, that's where like that excites me. That means like, okay, they're comfortable with it. So I'd say moonshot is getting to be much more like it's part of the culture. That's just an option. The professional learning catalog is there. The other stuff, still a little new. Village transcript, I still have a lot more work to do in the community. But I think our indicators are when like people feel like, yeah, that's just what we do here. It's Friday Night Lights. That's what we do. So like really, that's what I'm looking for. And we're not there yet at all. And I'm okay with that. Like I'm comfortable, and I probably will be bored out of my mind if we do get there. So I want to like constantly push.
One of the things that made me think of when we were talking about the different pushing and the different stakeholders and the different opinions, we all say how important that transcript is, that it translates the learning experience, the grades, ultimately grades and GPA and CUME, and I want my kid to go to Ivy League. And you started off by saying, even Ivy Leagues are doing these changes and adapting to the process. So how do I know that my kid's uh, acceptance into a university is not going to be affected by these changes?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that, like, the village transcript still keeps the traditional pieces in there. It's a small box, but it's still in there. So if that's what you want, and if that's what you view as success, then that's fine. It'll be in there. But yeah,
Sure.
and I think it is hard for us to convince parents and guardians of, with a certain perspective of where they want their kid to go for post-secondary, that indeed post-secondary will accept them even without grades. That's a hard one. I've tried continuously to explain that, and that's just a hard one for them to sell. So that's fine. I'll keep the traditional in there, but I'm putting all my energy in the non-traditional.
Sure, sure. So Jody wants to know a little bit more about Base 44 app. She said, can you tell us a little bit
Yeah,
more about what like
yeah.
the app or apps looks like or
And
what you've
guys,
created in there?
there's numerous options. It's just an AI app that allows you to build your own um, either websites or apps or systems. So and it's super cheap, or at least it was for me, and that's why I did it. So, like, as a small school district, for example, I don't have the money to go to a computer programmer and say, hey, I want, this system created for me. They'll be like, screw you, you have not enough money to pay for us. And, they'll just like look the other way. Like Power School, they don't care. Like, they don't even answer whenever we call. So with that being said, Base 44 allows you to create your own system. So we've created our own student data dashboard around how we want it. We've created the village transcript. We're working on developing that learning menu, that course catalog option. So it allows you to create it just by typing in text. So, like, you don't have to be a computer programmer. You can just type in, create a Google linked login page, and bam, it creates it for you. So and I think it's like $100 a month is everything. And it has really made a big difference for us on a low budget. You just got to put the time in. So I would just sit on the weekends and just type in what I wanted to see, and it created that dashboard for me. And so now we have, for example, a personalized internal student data dashboard around what we value, what we want to see, as opposed to going to a vendor. And, ironically, I'm here at ASU GSV. But now I don't have to go to a vendor and adapt to their system. I can now create a system that I want for my
Mhm.
school district. But there are other options. Base 44 isn't the only one. It's just the one that worked for me. So you can
Great.
choose a lot of other options.
Awesome. And just the last question, do you have a place on your website or somewhere where they can see an example of the village transcript?
Yeah, send me an email. We just switched over our website April 1st, so we're still adjusting links, but I can give you an access to, like, a that's not student specific data, to like a sample student, and I'll be happy to do that for anybody.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. So again, Laura's going to join the breakout a little bit later in learning models that you can reach out directly to her as well. And we'll put her email address in, make sure it's in the chat, that if you want to be able to email her directly, you can feel free to do so as well. So Laura, thank you so much for your time. You're gracious to be able to share your journey with us. And we just are excited to be able to continue to connect, as we move forward. So thank you. And Tim, we're going to welcome you back to stage.
All right. Thanks so much, Ken. And thank you, Laura, for sharing your wisdom with us. She shared so much about what's going on the western side of the state and within her school district. And we want to transition over to the eastern side of the state. So we have a district spotlight that we want to share with you today. So we're really excited to welcome three representatives from the Eastern Lancaster County School District here in IU 13, where we are in Lancaster County. The assistant superintendent there is Dr. Nadine Larkin, and along with Nadine will be Zach Fulmer sharing. He's the Garden Spot High School assistant principal, and Jill Hackman, who's the career coordinator within the district. So they have a long history of giving students different options as excuse me, as they transition into the secondary schools. And we wanted Nadine and her team to have the opportunity to share briefly about what's happening at Eastern Lancaster County School District. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but welcome the team from ELANCO and specifically Nadine to be with us today.
Well, I actually think Jill and Zach are the strong people here. And one of the reasons is that in Eastern Lancaster County School District, we do value people willing to take some chances and giving, putting out ideas there. And we try very hard to say, well, how would you do that? Or what do you think would be a way of doing that? And letting people kind of move with it. But I just want to quickly say, Jill, you can move to the next slide. We did go old fashioned. This is a picture of Garden Spot High School and a map that shows you where we are, and also the symbol of what is the most important thing that everybody knows about with our district, which is Shady Maple. So if any of you hit Lancaster County, you got to come to Shady Maple. Absolutely. And we are a district, we had, when I first started here 34 years ago, I'm going to cover my mouth so you can't really hear that. We had over 3,500 learners district-wide. We're now down to 2,500. We do have 3 K-5 buildings and 1 secondary building that's connected. You saw the center of it in that picture, and that's a 612 building. As Tim said, we have had different ways that we've started to personalize learning way back to when Tim was actually still with us here in ELANCO. In 2012, we got involved with personalized learning, but we had already started what we call our ELANCO Online in 2011. And then while we had internships or co-op programs, it really took off when Jill got involved in 2016 and 17. And so, like I said, we really like to allow our leaders to move and grow things here in the district. We do want to provide as many pathways as possible within our structure. And so I'm going to turn it over to Jill now, who will then turn it over to Zach to talk about what their focus is in our district. Jill.
Yeah, hi. So I am the career coordinator here at Garden Spot High School, and Dr. Laura's presentation really inspired me. And one question that came up was kind of like, how do we connect with our business community? And that is my full-time job. So I oversee work programs for high school students. And I will explain those, but just know that this is what I do full time. And yes, of course, my job is to manage student programs, but a big part of my job is maintaining relationships with businesses. So I have probably relationships with hundreds of businesses. We're working with probably on average 200 businesses every year. So yeah, I'll kind of walk you through some of those. But first, I just want to start with the why. Like, why should businesses and schools care about high school career programs? And I'm going to just tell you a quick little story to illustrate the importance of these programs. So every year I host a job and education fair. We just had our job fair on March 31st. And but after my first fair several years ago, I pulled a bunch of students in and I was asking them, for feedback because I wanted to know what they really enjoyed and how we could improve. And one student gave me the best feedback that I think I've ever received. And he said, "You had weird businesses there." And while yes, this is a little humorous, I also think it's the most important feedback because what it demonstrated to me is that I don't know which businesses the student thought were going to come to our school, whether he thought Nike and Meta were going to be, at Little Garden Spot in New Holland, Pennsylvania. But I did not have weird businesses. I had amazing businesses. I had global businesses, local businesses, small companies, large companies. I had a wide range of industries. And again, they were amazing companies. But what this quote kind of tells me is that the students don't know what the opportunities are and what businesses exist in your own community, in your own town, in your own county, and in our state. And it's our responsibility to show them what the opportunities are and what the companies are that exist in our community, because if we don't, another community will. So like I said, we do have several work programs for our students, and we have this is kind of like the basis to the philosophy of our career program. So the goal here is that students are graduating with a clear career plan, and we don't want them to just graduate without a plan. So students kind of live in the bottom right-hand corner rectangle for a few years, their first 3 years of high school, where they're brainstorming and researching careers. Then we actually have two paraeducators that we call career coaches. And their job is to meet with students, learn their career interests, and then plan personalized experiences for students. So that includes business tours, which are small group experiences at a local business. We also have job shadows that are one-on-one experiences, typically for juniors and seniors. And then we have what we like to call our mini fairs. They are industry-based career fairs where students who express an interest in a particular industry are invited to that fair, and then they can talk to many businesses at one time. So each student is permitted to attend 3 to 4 experiences per school year. So by the time that they are nearing the end of their junior year, they should be pretty confident on the career that they want to pursue. So now they're preparing for senior year. That leads us then into choosing a career program, which could be CTC, a co-op, internship, pre-apprenticeship. And then when they're graduating from high school, they're reflecting and they feel confident. They're mindfully choosing a career and they're completing job applications, or they are completing applications for post-secondary ed. And most of the time, they're completing applications to businesses that they learned about through career coaching or through a career program, which is pretty awesome. So just a few photos that I wanted to show you. You can see our career coaching. We've taken students everywhere from healthcare, mechanics, criminal justice, athletic careers, robotics, live events, and so much more. And then for time purposes, I put both co-op and internship on the same slide. So co-op is typically for a student who wants to go straight to the workforce. And it is a job. And where internship is more for college-bound students, it's more of an experience and it's short-term, typically unpaid. And there has to be instruction in order to earn a work credit. So according to PDE, so for the co-op co-op program, there is an on-campus class. And then our internship, I created an online class that the students take. And regardless if you are offering any type of work credit to a student, your instructor should have their co-op cert, because you learn through that certification, you learn a lot about child labor laws and a lot of safety things, protections that you should be aware of to keep your students safe. So again, just for time purposes, I have a couple photos here of our students in veterinary, graphic design, plant science, engineering, journalism, IT. Those are just a few examples of our internships. And our co-op, you can see generally leans more towards manufacturing, construction, warehousing, and sometimes entry-level jobs. Again, this was like an inch deep. I could give a full presentation on these awesome opportunities that our students have. So if you do want to connect with me, I have a website. You can reach out, but our email addresses are also at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to pass it over to Zach.
Thank you, Jill. My name is Zach Fulmer. I'm an assistant principal at our high school now. It's my first year doing that, but the last 4 years I ran our online program. A lot of the amazing work that Jill and our job trainers do is supported by our online school. And we are blessed that 4 years ago, kind of taking over our online program with Dr. Swinsberg, we went to Dr. Larkin and said, hey, we kind of need to relook at this. What do we want it to be? And it's grown since then, the ELANCO Online Virtual Academy. A quick overview of it before I dive into more of the career-focused stuff. We run the entire gamut on what that looks like for students. You know, we're not a huge district, but we have 133 full-time students at the secondary campus. 400 in my last count, it's like 450 some total students taking classes. We have 10 dedicated teachers that all they do is online learning, and then probably another dozen that help out in some way. It really fills in the gaps for a lot of our students and allows more flexibility for programs like this and for student learning in general. Joe, you want to go to the next slide for me? Thank you. So the career pathways piece is one that, as a district, we feel is really important. Getting students outside of the walls of the classroom and preparing for what's next, whatever that may be. It may be the academic college track, it may be going into the business world or into a manufacturing career. How can we support that and prepare them for that? So one of the things we looked at and kind of partnered with LLVS, which is the IU13's Lancaster-Lebanon Virtual Services, and some of the providers there, is how can we get students outside of just the normal line of your algebra class, your bio class, your English class, and into things that they're interested in and more directly aligned to what they want to do. One of those was the industry certification pathways that we dedicated with our online learning. What are classes and what are opportunities that get students experience and actual certifications that play outside of the school? How can we get them doing that now rather than waiting for a CTC, which is always full? We have a number of students waitlisted for our fantastic CTC program. How can we help outside of that? How can we support the programs that Jill is helping to run with co-op and internship and work-based learning? How can what we do as a school fill that need? So Jill, if you want to go to the next slide. Thank you. So one of the main ways we did that, and this is not a plug, and I'm not getting paid or anything like that, but it's a program that's worked for us. So Lancaster-Lebanon Virtual Services is a provider through IU13 that we partner with, and eDynamics is one of the online content providers. And what they've developed is a career-ready program. And as we looked and I went through and explored different ways to fill that need for students. Now, I was a computer science teacher, so that's kind of where I started, and looking for ways for my students to, how can I better prep them when they leave so that they're not just taking academic classes, but taking industry classes and getting certifications for it. And eDynamic helped us, for our district, fit that need. Their career-ready program created a pathway for students to start taking classes that are rigorous because it's prepping them for certifications. And this is partnered with a number of students who have done both this and then worked with Jill to get into internships in IT, to get into internships in a computer repair shop, an IT shop in town, as they look at what can I do that fits with my career and my interests. Jill, one more slide. You can see there just a list, and this is just a couple of the certifications that maybe you recognize, from NOCTI to CompTIA. These are ones that if a student is going to a CTC program or a student is going to a 2-year technical school after college, a lot of times they end up with these certifications. And we've had students who are graduating from here and who are earning those certifications or are eligible to earn those certifications without having to wait or pay for an additional program or even having to get accepted into a CTC. The tracks that are created prep them for that real world. The CompTIA one in particular, a story of a student that I had, he was asking me, what do I need? This is what I want to do. I want to go into computer science. I want to go into IT. I'm not sure if I'm college ready or not. If I want to go to college or not, what do I need? And so he jumped into this computer science pathway. And by the end of it, went through, I think he took just about every class I had to offer. So he ended up with that CompTIA certification. And the year after he was graduated, he was working in an IT department for another district right around here. Jumped right into the entry-level job. Because if you look at like our district, when they're hiring someone for IT department, it said for that entry-level job, college degree recommended, but you've really got to have this certification. And for so many careers and so many of our kids, that's what's important. You know, I love that you mentioned in the previous presentation talking about how we're stuck on transcripts and we're stuck on like the college degree. But so often when we go out and talk to businesses, it's not about that. It's about, do you have the certification and can you work with the people around you? Do you have the persistence to go through it? It's the soft skills and the industry specific training that, yes, that's the candidate we want. So getting them that initial certification and getting them experience through co-ops and internships and getting out into the workplace, that's what's creating for our businesses an attractive hire. Joe, one more slide. Thank you. Just real quick through this, again, I'm not going to go through all of it. This is where we started, again, because it was my background in computer science. We started with the IT pathway. We currently have, I think it's 30 some students taking a total of 50 courses through multiple different things: cybersecurity, network systems, game design. Game design is the one that everybody starts with and then realize, oh, it's a lot harder than I thought. And then they often end up in software development or IT or something like that. But I'd rather them have that experience and figure that out now as a sophomore, junior, or senior than before they go out into the workforce or even start paying for college degrees. Now, one more, Jill. A year and a half, I guess 2 years ago is when we started it. We added a health science component to that. And again, you'll notice a lot of these things are the types of things that they weren't in our course catalog. I don't know about your school, but these are the types of classes that we don't have brick and mortar. So we don't have more than a couple of computer science classes. We don't have health science specific courses outside of A&P. So now we have students who are getting into sports medicine, who are outside of school, they work with the local EMT or the fire department, and now they can take classes and towards certifications for that. We've got 30 some students currently working through our health sciences one. The next step is business pathways, and we're kind of working to try and find the teachers for that. We use all our own teachers for online courses, but looking at, okay, what's administration or marketing or sales or entrepreneurship, and adding that career pathway and certifications. And through conversations with Jill, and I know our district office, when we're looking at the number of applicants we get for teaching positions, education is another need. And it's one that students have expressed interest in. So we're looking to kind of continue growing, to adding more pathways for students, and then connecting them with our career services office and getting them out and getting them experience with it. Jill, one more. So again, kind of like Jill said, I went an inch deep. I think I combined slides from like 3 or 4 different full presentations that we've given before, but we'd love to explain more. We're not perfect in what we do, but we're continuing to try and grow and find those opportunities for kids to connect their passions and what they're interested in with the real world going on outside of our school building. So if you want to hear more, please reach out to Jill or to I. We'd be happy to share.
I just want to step in and just publicly thank both Zach and Jill. I live in this district, and my son was able to figure out cybersecurity was a focus he wanted to do while in high school to be able to go on to a career and a degree focused in on cybersecurity. So specifically the ELANCO Online that helped him do that. My daughter's currently a senior, and I just posted a little bit. She's been in internships with Jill this year and needed a pivot, and Jill pivoted really quickly for her. And now my daughter has found the career that she wants to further explore in college. So it's just a success for both of my kids. So Zach and Jill, thank you so much for providing these opportunities for our kids at Elanco.
Thank you for that perspective, Ken, and thank you to Nadine, Zach, and Jill for sharing all the hard work that's going on at Elanco. I was privileged to be a part of it early on, but they've taken it and run with it and made it something very, very special. So if you'd like to continue to hear from the folks that presented today, we want to give you an opportunity to do that. We're going to go into some breakout rooms real quickly. I think for about 5 or 6 minutes or so. We have folks from our team that are going to be part of those groups. It's just an opportunity for you to say, you know what, I'd like to learn a little bit more about this component, or hear from Dr. Jacobs, maybe a little bit more in the learning models breakout room, or whatever it might be, whatever your focus is, you're going to have the opportunity to select a breakout room next for a little bit of time for you to go into that room. So I'm going to ask Jill to join the community outreach room. I'm going to ask Dr. Laura Jacob to go into the learning model room. And maybe Zach, you could go into the teaching and learning one. If they had specific questions for you, you could be in there for that one as well. So Melissa, do we have those breakout rooms ready to go?
I do. If they get too big, I do have some extras. But can try to stay in the ones that aren't labeled extra.
Okay. So we're going to open those up for you. You should have the opportunity to join them. And then again, we'll welcome you back into our main room as we wrap up today in about 5 or 6 minutes. All right, as we're coming back into the main room, I'm sure your conversations probably could have gone on a lot further, but we wanted to give you an opportunity to chat with those around those different areas of our components, and again, highlight some of the great work that's part of that student-centered learning blueprint that could be a tool that could be really used by your organization moving forward. In the interest of time, I think we're going to move forward as opposed to having the breakout rooms share out. Because we're running a little bit later on time here. But so we want to highlight one of the other great aspects of our student-centered learning network. It's not just the virtual meetings, but it's the ability to go and view some of our districts in person. Some of the great work that you heard today is always more impactful when you can actually go and see it in action in person with the folks who are doing the work there. So we always want to encourage site visits to take place. Always want to encourage you, even if you don't think you're doing some super innovative work, potentially hosting a site visit in your area. On today's agenda, there's an opportunity for you to fill out a form that would allow you to do that. And also, we're going to put more of our site visits on there. It's the time of the year where things continue to kind of move and change and flux. So that happened, unfortunately, with one of our upcoming site visits that we advertised last time at Derry Township. Because of some things that happened in the district. It had to be postponed till next year, but they really are enthusiastic about hosting it. It just has to be postponed up until the fall at a later time. But one that is going to be happening is at Hopewell School District, which you can do in the summertime here. So I'm going to ask my colleague at IU27, and we're going to have him introduce the group from Hopewell. So Sam?
Yes, it is my pleasure to introduce Rob Kartachek and Nick Moorbacher from Hopewell Area High School in Beaver County to highlight their Link Crew program, which is a mentorship program that upperclassmen apply to be link leaders to help rising freshmen better transition to high school by leading a variety of activities both at the beginning of the school year and then throughout the school year. And as Tim said, we will be doing a summer site visit on August 11th from 7:30 to 11:45. On the agenda, you will see a link to register for that, as well as a link to register for any other site visits around the state or to host a site visit. So please feel free to look at that. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Rob and Nick.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We really appreciate the opportunity to meet with everyone today. As Sam said, my name is Rob Kartachek. I'm the principal here at Hopewell High School, and with me is Nick Moorbacher. Nick's one of our English teachers who's also taken the lead for Link Crew. So we're really excited to introduce our ninth grade transition program, which is part of the Boomerang project entitled Link Crew. The program focuses on the moments that matter the most during transition, which is building relationships, strengthening academic readiness, and ensuring students know where to go and who to ask for help. So Nick and I are going to take a few minutes here and go over that program. Can everyone see my screen okay? Perfect. All right, so what exactly is Link Crew? The Link Crew is actually a international high school program. This wasn't something that Hopewell created. It's from the Boomerang Project, and basically it is a transition program that focuses on student success. Boomerang Project has been around for a while. It's been around for over 30 years. And basically what it does is it trains incoming juniors and seniors to be year-long Link leaders who are going to act as positive role models, motivators, mentors, and teachers to kind of help freshmen transition into the high school. Just because you're a Link leader in 11th grade doesn't mean you're automatically going to be a Link leader in 12th grade. We do make those students reapply, and sometimes students realize it probably wasn't the best fit for them in 11th grade, and sometimes we have some Link leaders in 12th grade that, for whatever reason, didn't do it in 11th grade. So it's not a 2-year commitment. They do have to reapply each year. As freshman success increases, it does improve the school culture. It really kind of removes that hesitation that, we don't know what's going on when ninth graders enter the building. And additionally, the older students really thrive on being those positive mentors for our incoming freshmen. It is a powerful experience for them. We do get, not everyone that applies to be a Link leader is an academic high flyer. So we really want to try and find kids that every incoming freshman is going to sit there and possibly see a little bit of themselves in one of those Link leaders. The goals from the Link Crew, this would be for really any program: a belief in education, a belief that what happens in the school and in the classroom can change their lives, that students have a lot to offer, having their voice, having the hope and opportunity, and then the vision of what schools can be. So I'm going to turn it over to Nick to kind of give a little bit of background about Link Crew here at Hopewell High School, because he actually was involved from the onset.
Hi, everybody. Nick Moorbacher. My previous administrator just needed a transition program. We found the Boomerang Project. He and I went and got trained. It's a 3-day training. Once again, this is an international program. It's all throughout the country and Canada. And went and got trained and then started implementing in 2019. And it's been just a huge success for our school district. It's something I'm super passionate about. I love doing it every year, working with these students and then running orientation. So you can see the numbers that we have there. And we don't have a ton of statistics. It's not like we can go to our graduation rates and things like that, particularly at Hopewell, partially because we've been through different administrators and things that there's not necessarily, a perfect standard, but culturally, we do think that it's been really successful, and we get a ton of positive feedback, just anecdotally from teachers and students. And there is, by the way, the Boomerang Project, if you want to go to their site, they do have data from school districts about graduation rates and write-ups and things like that. There is data out there that they've done, different school districts have done research. And then now this year, Dr. Kartachek and another teacher are going to get trained. So I'm super excited about that. Oh, one thing that does show our success is we do have more applicants than we can take. And so we have juniors and seniors that want to be a part of it. And to me, that's a success, that we have kids who may not see themselves as leaders, but they're trying to put themselves out there because they see how cool the program is. And so I want to just tell you a little bit about what this actually looks like. So right now, we're going to have 10th and 11th graders apply. They write an essay. We look at their academics and their schedule, and we get feedback from other teachers about them. And then in a couple weeks, they'll participate in a 2-hour training. And then they dedicate 3 days of their summer. They come for 2 days of training during the summer and then orientation. And they know that ahead of time, and that's all mandatory. And I just had a kid yesterday say, like, Mr. Mulbacher, I don't know, man. Link Crew was just so much fun. They grabbed an application and they were like, I just can't wait to do it again. And throughout the years that I've been here, we get that over and over again. That kids almost always reapply because it's just a really cool program. So what does it look like? They get trained and they come to orientation. Our old orientation was the principals standing up there, and I think this is probably typical of most orientations. The principals go through the handbook and what you need to do and where you need to go. Instead, at Hopewell, when freshmen walk in on the orientation, we have them hang out in the lobby for a little while. And then when they come into our gymnasium, there's a group of juniors and seniors, all with the same shirts on, with signs all over the walls, cheering for them as they enter. Their first time on campus is a celebration. They are celebrated. They walk in, there's music, there's cheering, and then they enter immediately into a group of activities that are designed to break the ice, designed to have them meet multiple people throughout that day. They probably will encounter or have short conversations with 20 to 30 people throughout their first day in this building on our campus. And it's so intentional. I can't say enough about the intentionality and organization of this program. It has been built over years. It has been improved over years, and it is built upon psychology and human behavior and teamwork and all of these things that are structured so that these kids have an awesome experience the first day they become a Hopewell Viking in this high school. And they leave that day having met people, having shared a little piece of who they are, having accomplished things as a team, and having met two leaders that they can turn to throughout the entire school year. Two kids that are their age that are very similar to them that they can turn to throughout the entire school year. You can go ahead and go to the next slide, I think.
Just video.
Oh, it's the video. Oh, before I show the video, you'll get to see what this kind of looks like. But I can't express enough how great this is for both the freshmen to transition. And like I said, these seniors meet with those groups. They get a group of 8 to 10 students, and they run it. I run about a half an hour in the gymnasium with all, let's say, 200 students. And then they go with that junior and senior, or 2 juniors or 2 seniors, and they do a 2-hour program in a classroom where those kids are by themselves being led by those leaders. And it's all scripted, it's all set up, it's all done with intentionality. There's a lot of activities. They also take a tour of the campus led by those students who can give them, once again, anecdotal information about where they should be and what they need to do and which bathroom to use or whatever they need to know that kids, want to know. And so once again, they leave that day feeling, having had success, having met people, having been energized, having been encouraged before they ever actually take a class at Hopewell High School. And so, yeah, I can't talk enough positively about the program. You can take a look at the video and we can, answer questions or whatever.
And real quick before I show the video, the other thing is during the year of the check-ins, the first Friday of the school year, we do like a 20-minute check-in with them where the students teach them the cheers for the student section for the football game. Once again, to try and get them acclimated to that. There's check-ins later, like how the first 9 weeks go. There's check-ins before we have midterms, just basically like walking them through what the midterm process looks like. Anytime there's like one of those major milestones in a high school student's career, we try and have that Link Crew check-in. Just 1, to get the kids reacclimated to their Link Crew leader, and 2, just to kind of eliminate any apprehension about what's coming forward.
And 2 other things I just need to mention. One is we also do a club fair and sports so that because we all know that the data out there that students who participate are more successful. And that's one of the other things that Link Crew does is they see a kid on the cheer team, they see a kid on the basketball team, and those kids can directly talk to them about their clubs or sports or activities. And so we also incorporate a club fair at the end of the tour. They tour the building, and then they have a chance to go sign up for drama club or go sign up for the bowling team or whatever it may be. And then the last thing I'll say is the leaders are transformed through this program. All right. They they might not have been a leader before it, but they're a leader by the end of it. Having to sit there for 2 hours and lead a group of freshmen and deal with the squirreliness and deal with the difficulties, or just enjoy it. Sometimes they just enjoy it, and checking in with those kids and going through the training that we do. They really get to become leaders who go out from Hopewell. So it's not just an improvement for Hopewell. These kids can go out into the world, go out into their next phase, and be greater leaders in the world and at their college campuses. So that's one of the things I really love about it too. It's not just for the freshmen, it's for these juniors and seniors to be better leaders and better, more confident people.
So here's a brief video about what Link Crew looks like.
Yeah, I think there's some sound with that, Rob, but it's not coming through.
It's just the sound, just background music, so it's
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this will give people a good taste. And you can even share some ideas as it comes through there. And I would just encourage everybody.
Training,
Yeah.
seniors and juniors, just being kids, just not being insecure, just learning to be who they are. The training is always just a ton of fun. Just seeing high school kids just let their guard down and show up for these freshmen. Once again, this is all training. This is in the summer. This is them accomplishing a big part of the training. It's the final part of it. And then these are just all their groups. So for their tours, they all wear different costumes or set up a theme so they all feel part of that group. And once again, these groups are meeting throughout the year, so they always have some connection. There's never, just a kid walking in on the first day, not knowing who they can sit with, not knowing where they should be. They have people who they can turn to on that first day of school and throughout the whole year. Not only their leaders, but the fellow freshmen that are in their group. So you can see some of their fun themes here. And the music's really nice, so I'm sorry you can't hear it.
And when we do the site visit, we'll be going out and actually seeing the link leaders getting trained and seeing some of these activities that they learn and that kind of thing. So even if you're not associated with Boomerang Project, you can take some of these practices back to your schools and use them for your own transition program.
Yes, it should be a fun day if you're not doing anything in the summer. It really is cool. I'm encouraged every year by the training. It's one of my favorite things to do because you really do just get to see kids being kids and developing leadership skills and just not being, worried about their insecurities and stuff. We're just having fun and learning. So it really is a cool experience.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate your time and your spotlight. And I'm going to send it back over to you, Tim.
All right. Thanks to Rob and Nick. We appreciate you sharing that. Great opportunity. Again, maybe you have somebody in your district who might champion this idea. Send them to Hopewell in August to see it in action. It would be a great experience for you. So again, those site visits, we're really excited about continuing them next year, but we have lots of other sponsored events coming up. One happening close to us here at IU 13. Maybe you've heard of the multiple choice film documentary that shares a little bit about some of the exciting work that you were hearing about today. It's a school in Virginia where they're making this really a part of their district and part of it happening there. So we would welcome you if you're interested and are somewhere nearby on May 5th to claim your seat at our film event at Penn Cinema in Lidditz, PA. We're going to have some light dinner along with a film screening and then have a panel discussion after that. So you do have to claim your seat, and there's a link to do that in the agenda. But we have other sponsored events happening this summer, which you can again find on the agenda both in June and July. Some different student-centered learning conferences and summits happening around the state. And again, this is where I think you could send your team, send your folks who might want to lead this work to get some ideas beyond just the time that we have to share these ideas here in the network. So we'd really encourage you to look into those, hopefully find one in your area this summer that can be helpful. And again, look ahead as you continue to get the newsletters from us about site visit opportunities that will be coming up again as we get into the fall here. Always just want to remind you too, as you're thinking about next steps, look in our OER Commons. That's a great place to find resources that can support you. One of them I want to highlight here is that Getting Started with Your Leadership Team. A great resource in there as to how do we utilize the blueprint as we get into leadership meetings, as we start our summers. Many of you go into retreats and actually talk together about next steps. There's some guidance in there as to some questions and some brainstorming activities as to how you can use the blueprint with your leadership team to go into some of the next steps. So we would love to have you join our OER Commons group and access the resources that are going to be in there. And again, looking ahead to next year, we would love to continue the conversations over the summer, but we'll do that through our newsletter that goes out monthly. But we do have kind of a save the date for you. We're going to continue with our format of doing 9 o'clock quarterly meetings coming up next school year. So if you want to jot them down and just bookmark them on your calendars as placeholders, you'll get more information from us as to kind of how those meetings will be structured next year. But hopefully you're coming out of these meetings inspired, hearing from the great work that's happening around the state. You know, too often we don't highlight the wonderful work that's happening around the state of Pennsylvania. We usually hear kind of more of the negative side of things more so than the positive. And you heard some of the highlights today of just a piece of some of the great work that's happening. So I'm hoping it inspires you to take that next step, to do something great within your district, to kind of move forward. So that's my challenge to you, is to take this information and the connections you made today and do something with those next steps. So if you have any questions, reach out to our team, reach out to your point of contacts. And we want to thank you for being here with us today. And we hope to see you next time when we get back together in September virtually or at some of our summer events that we have coming up. So thank you again for being here. We wish you a great rest of the week and enjoy the warm weather that's finally come to Pennsylvania. Thank you, everybody.